It's time to reveal my Euro Fantasy Match Day 1 squad. There's been a fair few changes to it since the last video, so I cannot wait to show you my team. As always, if you're looking forward to today's video, please do consider dropping a like and, of course, smashing that subscribe button for daily Euro Fantasy content. And enough waffling, let's get into today's video. Okay, so first up, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, and if you want a bit more of a deep dive on chip strategy, I do recommend checking out yesterday's video. Hopefully I've put maybe like a little link here above my head, but who knows if I actually done it in the edits. So this is a decision that you need to make before you build your team, because this was imperative to how I actually built my finalized Matchday 1 squad. You need to choose two routes. You either go for option 1, which I would class as a bit more of a safe option, going for the limitless chip in Matchday 3 and the wildcard in Matchday 5. Basically, going for option 1 means that you are basically saying you think some of the favourites are going to go out in the round of 16, so that when you use your wildcard in Matchday 5, the quarterfinals, you are bringing in players who have been basically through, which you weren't expecting. So maybe we see a Portugal get knocked out and England get knocked out, and the wildcard then becomes really, really favourable, because those that are going for option 2, who are not keeping their wildcard in their back pocket, are then scrambling to try and rebuild a team based on free transfers. So the aggressive strategy, option 2, which means you wildcard in Matchday 2 and limitless in Matchday 3, you basically have 4 free hits in a row. Matchday 1 unlimited, wildcard, limitless, unlimited transfers obviously for round of 16, and then you are basically saying to yourself, I think the favourites progress into the quarterfinals, and that means that you are getting lucky and you don't need a wild card. And for me, I'm going to be honest with you, playing FPL seriously for 9 months, I want to have a bit more fun with this Euro Fantasy game. And that isn't to say that I'm playing it casually, playing it very seriously, but I think the aggressive route is the one that I want to go for. I really like the idea of having 4 free hit teams in a row. I love the idea of, when I use my chip, having way more players to select from, because of course, if you use your wildcard in Matchday 5, there's a very small pool of players that you can select from. So I love the idea of being way more opportunistic with my choices in my chip. Obviously, I'm taking a risk of maybe some favourites getting knocked out, but I want to have a really aggressive strategy. And because of that reason, drum roll please, I'm going for option 2, which of course has completely changed the direction that I'm building my team. So let's get straight into this team reveal. Okay, so first up, as always, the goalkeepers. And I do need to state this. Of course, this is a Matchday 1 team reveal, but the deadline isn't until 8 PM UK time tomorrow. So I will be doing a live stream. So if you're not already, make sure you are subscribed, because I will be doing an hour-long deadline on live stream. If there's going to be any changes, it will be because of team news or injury updates. So this is my current goalkeeper strategy. We've gone for Verbruggen of the Netherlands, and we've gone for Ukraine's Lunin. Now, previously I had Costa at Portugal at 5 million. I've had Pickford in the past, but I think both of these 4.5 millions start for their respective teams. Verbruggen at 4.5 has been officially confirmed to be the starter. And while I don't like Netherlands' group, in Matchday 1, and remember, with the chip strategy that I'm going for, I'm only focusing on Matchday 1. They've got Poland, and Lewandowski has been ruled out for Matchday 1. So I look at Poland and think, I wasn't really fancying you regardless. Now you've got your main man ruled out, and Netherlands defensively, I do actually really like. They've been really solid in qualifying, and they have so many established defenders. I think this is a really good goalkeeper for Matchday 1. Now, Lunin, Ukraine have Romania, a really good fixture, probably the pick of the bunch in their group stage. And while it hasn't been officially confirmed, there have been some quotes going around that the goalkeeping coach has basically confirmed that Lunin's got over his sickness, whatever he had, and he is now ready to be number 1 for the national team. Now, this is a position that could change if we do get an update, because to be honest with you, I don't think there are many other 4.5 million goalkeepers that I would go for. So if we get a hint that Lunin isn't number 1, I would then change that to either Pickford or Costa of Portugal. So that could change. But as of right now, I'm pretty confident both of those start. And if I can save a bit of money in the goalkeeper department, similar to FPL, I'm going to do so. And I think both of these have great fixtures for Matchday 1. Taking a look at the defenders, and there have been a few familiar faces in my previous video. So Mittelstadt at 4 million in this Germany team, looks like he is going to play left back. A great opening day fixture against Scotland, and again, that's the only fixture that I'm actually looking at. I think it's impossible to look past him. There is no point going for the likes of Rudiger, who is 1.5 million more expensive when you have such a gem in the game. So go for Mittelstadt, and he has been in every single draft that I've built, and he gives me good coverage for that opening day of the campaign. DeMarco for Italy. Now, Previously, when I was looking at going for a limitless chip in match day 3 and a wild card in match day 5, I was umming and ahhing about the Italian defence because I really liked it for match day 1, didn't really like it for match day 2, but now I've changed my chip strategy. I'm just focusing on match day 1. DiMarco becomes basically an essential pick with that game against Albania. I expect a clean sheet, and the great thing about DiMarco is he offers attacking potential as well. The only thing about this team right now is you can see I don't have double Italian defence, and that is definitely something that I have been debating, and it could happen with this team. Di Lorenzo is the one that I would go for at 5.5 million. I think Di Lorenzo would start, but I have a few doubts enough to say to myself, don't put him in your team for this game. So DiMarco is in. He's essential if you're going for the strategy that I'm going for with that brilliant game. Now, going to cover off Wout Faes. He's been in all my teams. There is an alternative to him. I can never pronounce him, but it's going to be De Cupier, I believe, in the Belgium team. The injury to Munayer looks like he could get a start. Slightly more expensive at 4.5 million, but if you want to be a bit more different, that is the direction that I probably would recommend if you can afford it. Unfortunately, with this team, I cannot afford that slight upgrade, and I think Wout Faes is perfectly fine for that Belgian defence. And again, the fixture that they have in the opening day is the one that I want to target, so I think it's a good fixture to have a piece of that Belgian defence, and I don't really want to be spending too much on it. Now, the other two positions have been the ones that I've been changing quite a bit, but I think I am locked in on this. So first up, we have got Denzel Dumfries. Now, there's been a big talk about which defender to go for from the Netherlands. We've had talk about going for Virgil van Dijk. Frimpong has been really highly owned as well, but I'm now currently leaning towards Denzel Dumfries. Been fantastic in the qualifying stages. I don't expect him to lose his place in match day 1. And we spoke about it. Poland in the opening game, I actually think the clean sheet odds are now better with Lewandowski not playing, and I always back Dumfries for some sort of attack in return. So I think he is the perfect 5.5 million player. And it's worth noting, this is why chip strategy is so important, because previously I had Theo Hernandez at the same price, but over 2 game weeks, I much prefer Theo Hernandez. But for 1 game week in isolation, Dumfries against Poland or Theo Hernandez against an informed Austria team, I prefer Dumfries as my pick. So that is why the chip strategy is so important right now to establish. So really like Dumfries. It's a position that could change, but only if I get slight doubts about his game time. Finally, we have got João Cancelo. Now, João Cancelo with that opening game against the Czech Republic, I think is a decent fixture. They do offer some sort of attacking potential from set pieces and obviously aerial threats, but the Portuguese defence has been so good during qualifying, and with me not going for Costa in goal, I need a piece of that Portuguese defence, at least one, and Cancelo I do believe is the best one. Now, there are a few talks about him potentially not making the team because of Diego Dalot's form, but for me, I do expect Cancelo to start, and if he does play in some sort of wing-back position, that only enhances him as a pick. So I will show you later on in the video some alternatives that I'm considering, but right now this is the defence. Now for the midfielders, and it's safe to say there have been quite a few changes in this department. So I've downgraded Rodri all the way to Jorginho. Now again, this is a perfect example of playing this chip strategy that you have. Rodri for 2 game weeks is okay, but not really for the opening game in my eyes. Jorginho, on the other hand, being 1.5 million cheaper, we're expecting him to be on penalties and a great fixture against Albania. I think he is the preference over Rodri going down this route, and it also means I've opened up a lot more funds to invest elsewhere in the team. So Jorginho is going to be my budget enabler, as we call it, at 5 million, and unless we get some rumours that he might not be starting, he is pretty much a lock in this team. The other one that is absolutely locked is going to be Bruno Fernandes at the other end of the spectrum at 9 million. I just can't see a world where you go without him. He's one of the best value players in the game. I know 9 million sounds a lot, but you're getting guaranteed game time. Fantastic opening day fixture for them, I believe, from an attacking perspective. And Portugal, one of the few teams that I look at and think you guys are going to score goals. Irrelevant of the opposition, I always fancy him to score goals, and his goal involvement in qualifying has been an absolute joke. So I just don't see a world where we go without Bruno Fernandes. Now, the other 3 positions are really up for grabs, but I think I am leaning towards this combination. So first up, Florian Wirtz. I think I need some sort of Germany attack in this team, with the opening game against Scotland being quite favourable. And don't really like the price of Musiala being 1 million more expensive than Wirtz. Gundogan, I don't know whether he's going to play a bit more of a defensive role and enable the 3 in front of him of Musiala, Wirtz in this team. So for me, I am leaning towards Wirtz at 7.5 million. I'm hoping he can maybe take that club form into international form, but I do appreciate that it's completely different teams and context. But for me right now, Wirtz is the choice in the German midfield. Szoboszlai is in currently at 7 million. Now, this one might be in a bit of an anomaly because the opening game against Switzerland isn't necessarily easy. Now, I don't look at Switzerland and think they are completely resolute defensively. I think there is an opportunity for Szoboszlai, and he just ticks all the boxes in terms of an overall fantasy player. He's had a great qualifying campaign. He's the talisman in this team on all set pieces. Definitely a potential for goals outside the box and player of the match. And at 7 million, even though there are better fixtures out there, I don't think there are many better assets out there in terms of price and what he offers to the game. So right now, Szoboszlai is in, but he probably is the anomaly where I would argue the fixture really isn't that favourable for him, and it could be a very scrappy game or a low-scoring game. So I do need to take that into consideration, but I just can't really see myself going without Szoboszlai because he just ticks so many of the boxes when we are trying to build a team with specific players in it. Now, last up, a little bit of a different one here is going to be Christian Eriksen. And again, this is a perfect example of why you need to establish your chip strategy. This is a guy that you are not considering if you want to build a team for 2 game weeks because he has England in match day 2. But for the opening game week, they have Slovenia. Now, I think Denmark is a good team. And Christian Eriksen, similar to Szoboszlai, is the talisman. Everything goes through him. And he's on all set pieces, on penalties. Does have history of scoring outside the box, as we know. Definitely a potential for player of the match, and this is a great opportunity to be a little bit different to the other managers. 4% owned. As I said, nobody's going to go for him if they're not using a chip in match day 2, and this is why I like the chip. These small little nuggets that you can squeeze into your team that other managers can't, and I think Christian Eriksen is a brilliant option for our midfield. So as I mentioned, I will show you some alternatives at the end of this video that I'm considering, but right now the midfield I'm pretty content with. And finally, the forward selection. Now, I cannot lie to you, going for the strategy of having a matchday 1 squad, a new matchday 2 squad, has made me think I really want to be really different with my forwards. I've had people like Depay in my team, I've had Dovbyk, you name it, I've had different forwards. But when I strip it back and look at it and think, yes, I am building basically a free hit team, a 1-week team, it doesn't take away from the fact that there are just certain world-class players who are also talisman in their respective teams. And that's the reason why I have, even though I want to be a little bit different, defaulted to what I would argue is the template forward line. And that is going to include Romelu Lukaku for Belgium, Harry Kane for England, and of course France's Mbappe. So first up, Romelu Lukaku. This is definitely a player that's going to be in my team. And if you're going for the strategy that I'm going for, I think you can't not have Lukaku. A decent opening game against Slovakia. And again, that is the only fixture that we're really focusing on. Now, Lukaku definitely is a player that whatever your chip strategy is, he's great for it regardless because he has Slovakia in the first game and Romania in the second. So I know for a fact that anybody dependent on chip strategy is probably going to lean towards Lukaku the closer we get to the deadline. 14 goals in qualifying, penalty taker, guaranteed game time talisman. I know a lot of people are going for Kai Havertz, and I do get it, but the more I think about it, I just want the player who probably has a higher ceiling, and for me, that is definitely going to be Romelu Lukaku in that opening fixture. So Lukaku is absolutely locked. Now, I can't lie, I have been deliberating, maybe taking Harry Kane out. I feel really bad saying that wearing this t-shirt, but Harry Kane's opening game against Serbia, maybe I'm being a bit of a pessimistic England fan, but I do expect it to be quite a tight affair. I think Southgate will just try and get points on the ball, so I'm not expecting like a 3-4-0 game, whereas I could see that for someone like Belgium. And that's why I will say Harry Kane's position is definitely up for grabs right now in this team. I think Cristiano Ronaldo is a brilliant option, and with this team, I have left myself with one final Portuguese space open now that I haven't gone for the Portuguese goalkeeper. So I could be inclined to maybe move Harry Kane to Cristiano Ronaldo. I will show in a minute what that team would look like because it would entail me basically squeezing an England midfielder in just to cover my base. So Harry Kane, I'm going to put him in because end of the day, if they beat Serbia, you know Harry Kane is probably going to be involved, but he is one for debate. The other one is going to be Kylian Mbappe. Now, I feel like he is in most people's teams out of fear because when we look at it from a fixture perspective, a game against Austria is tough. That is not an easy game at all. And would I be surprised if Mbappe blanks? No, but equally, this is a guy who bagged a hat-trick in a World Cup final. Can I really go against him? And I think the answer is going to be no. I think it will take a very brave manager to go against the 77% ownership. But if you are going for the strategy that I'm going for, and you're basically building multiple free hit teams, I mean, you could easily go against Mbappe because you know you can just bring him in your team in match day 2. If you're in a position where you're building a team for 2 match days, it's impossible to go without killing Mbappe because you might get lucky with him blanking 1 week. I don't think you get lucky 2 match days in a row. And that's basically the way I'm looking at it right now. So Mbappe, he's in my team out of fear. And I'm just happy to say that's the case. I just can't see myself going without him. And we need to remember, France are one of the favourites. Even though the fixture can be difficult against Austria, I still expect France to score goals. And Mbappe is at the heart of all of that. So that is the team currently. Let me show you what it would look like in a setup, and then we'll show you some alternatives before we wrap up this video. Okay, so here is how the team is looking when we have it all laid out for the opening game of the campaign. And it's worth noting, if you didn't know already, and you should, you have to make sure you field your team based on when they play in the match day. So the starting 11 you can see here on teams are players that feature in the opening 3 days of the match day. The players on the bench are the ones that play later on. So for example, Portugal play on the final day of the match day. And the reason why you do that is because you can manually sub in players. So for example, if Szoboszlai after the second day doesn't do really well, going gets a 2-pointer, I would then substitute Bruno Fernandes in for his game later on in the match day, and so on and so forth. So that's why you really need to focus on the specific players that you're starting in your team, because once they featured and they're on your bench, you can't bring them into your starting 11. So this is how the team would look. Captaincy obviously on Wirtz, and if he doesn't do well, I'll then probably put him to Szoboszlai in day 2, and so on and so forth. And I really do like the balance of this team. I think it's really well set. It uses all of the funds available, but what I want to show you right now is an alternative, not team, but transfers that I could make. So I'm going to pop that on the screen right now, just to give you an idea on how we could slightly change it. These are certainly some of the players I'm considering. So what we could do right now is a little bit different. Change Lukaku to Depay. I've spoke about how Lukaku is basically essential, so I'm just putting it out there, some alternatives. I think Depay is a really nice differential, especially for those managers that are going for a chip strategy that I'm suggesting, because nobody's going to have Depay at all. So I like Depay. Harry Kane to Ronaldo, regardless of the Lukaku move, is definitely a viable move for any team. And I do think close to the deadline, I could be tempted by that. Szoboszlai to Saka. Now again, that is a move that would free up by the Kane to Ronaldo move, for example, and maybe just one more downgrade in the team. And I do think if you're going without Kane, you need a midfielder. If you've got Kane, you don't necessarily need a midfielder. Trent is definitely a consideration right now in that defence. If I have worries about Dumfries, we have basically confirmation that Trent is going to play in centre midfield alongside Declan Rice. And that really does enhance him as an option. So I can't lie, I am tempted by Trent Alexander-Arnold, because as you can see, I have no England defence in my team right now. So the closer I get to the deadline, even though Mark Guy is probably the logical move, from a team structure perspective, it probably makes sense for me to do Dumfries to Trent rather than doing a upgrade from Mittelstadt or Fout-Face to the 4.5 million Mark Guy. So I think Trent will be the one to come in. And similarly, if we do get information that Lunin is going to be not the #1 goalkeeper, then an easy move for me would be just to go to Pickford and get myself that England coverage. And the last one is going to be Fout-Face to that 0% owned De Coupe, I believe it is, in the Belgium team. It looks like he could be starting. He's like 0% owned, way more of an attacking option. So again, this is just a few players I am considering, and also the players that I could look to take out my team. But to be honest with you, looking at the players that I potentially might take out, Lukaku is the one that at the time of recording, I think to myself, there is no world that I'm taking Lukaku out. So by default, it would be Harry Kane that would downgrade to Cristiano Ronaldo if I was tempted by him. But as I said, this is most likely going to be my matchday 1 team selection. I think it has every base covered. But I will be doing a live stream an hour before that 8 PM UK time deadline tomorrow. So if you're not already, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and I will be sure to answer all of your questions, as well as reveal my final team if there were to be any changes. Yes guys, okay, that is going to wrap up today's matchday 1 team selection video. Really excited to show you that team, and hopefully it's provided some value to you. As always, we have just over 24 hours, maybe less than 24 hours when you're watching this, till that matchday 1 deadline. So if you have any questions, please do put them in the comment section. I'll be sure to answer them between now and that deadline. And as I mentioned already, make sure you do drop a like on the video and smash that subscribe button, because it'd be really good to see you on tomorrow's live stream. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you very soon. Take care. Cheers.